process. This is called formation. And today in class, I have chosen, I'm talking about serving in the nitty-gritty world that we live. Service has always been a very powerful thing that draws the bond of Christ and those who believe in him together. Today I've chosen one that's giving. Before I go much further, I want to say that giving is not what most people think. They think, okay, how much do we tithe? How about, all that kind of stuff. That is great. In fact, I would say that's very necessary, and this church does a great job on that, by the way. But it's not sufficient. Necessary, but not sufficient. And the real giving comes not from reaching in your wallet, that's pretty easy, isn't it? Even if it's sacrificial, it comes from giving to others more than your money, giving more to our family than your money, and giving more to the others outside our family and encouraging them. And that's where the real giving is. And that, again, this congregation does a better job in that area than I have witnessed in any other congregation. It is somehow in all of our DNA, and that's good because guess what? That's one of the gifts of the Spirit, giving. And great. And throughout the history of the church, if you look at what's going on with the gifts of the Spirit, that was given individually, one by one. Okay, you are a giver, you're a leader, you're a preacher, you're a teacher. And they have risen up within congregations that specifically needed it. And so when I see so many of us tuned to that gift of the Spirit of truly giving, that's encouraging, tremendously encouraging. So let's take a look at this. I have chosen today here are the take-home lessons. One, that giving and love are very closely related. Absolutely. They're interwoven. And clearly the classic verse which ties those two together is John 3:16, of that both giving and loving. But I chose the story of Dorcas. I think that shows the human side of loving and giving in Christian life. How many of you know much about Joppa? That's where Dorcas, or Tabitha, which would be the Greek name, comes from. Joppa exists today. Joppa is been incorporated in the outskirts of Tel Aviv. It still functions as a port, as it did during the time of Dorcas in the early church. If you look backward, Joppa is probably one of the oldest continuously operating port in the world, and continues to be so. And back in the ancient times, Joppa is the port that Jonah fled to avoid, to run to Tarshish and avoid God. Very interesting. So Dorcas is from Joppa. At the time of Dorcas, Joppa was a very powerful port. It's been superseded as far as its size in Israel today by Achish and also Haifa, but it still functions as a port. But when Dorcas was doing it, this was a big deal. And because it was a port, it was a place that you could make money. And if you were shrewd and you were a shrewd trader and things like that, you could do well for yourself. Dorcas clearly had some things that others didn't. she had the wherewithal to devote a significant amount of time to helping the poor in Joppa. Now, why would there be a lot of poor folks in Joppa? Despite the fact that being a maritime port, it was feast and famine, shipwrecks, all kinds of different things that would happen, especially sailors' families. Sailing was not the most safe thing in the world, and a lot of single mothers, widows, that were having to raise children and things like that. So there was a constant supply of people who were extraordinarily needy and sometimes out of the clear blue. Just suddenly everything they had depended on no longer existed for them. So Dorcas had not only the time to do this, she handmade clothing that she gave to those needy people in Joppa, but she also had the money for the materials, the fabrics. And if you recall back then, fabrics weren't as easily obtained as they are today. And so they were worth a lot. So she had time and money to sweat, to dedicate to helping the poor, and did so willingly. That's quite impressive. Um, so, Dorcas' main characteristics seem to be her willingness to give. That's what she is remembered for in the Bible. And she's described as always doing good and helping the poor. She made it her full-time job to do that. Clearly, she had a source of income and a source of free time to do it, but wow, she could have done a lot of other things in a place like Joppa than helping the poor. A lot of other things that probably would have been fun. Not that this wasn't fun for her. The giving that she did seemed to be, how can I say, as a disciple. Clearly, she worked as a disciple, and she was described in the Bible as a disciple. She embraced this new faith. Keep in mind, this is very new faith. As the Christian discipling progressed out of Jerusalem, it was new to Joppa. This is early times, and so she stepped up. She made it a significant part of her life. You know, it's amazing to me that she could pass on this giving and loving nature that she was recipient of through her salvation. She saw it that way. Dorcas gave people what she needed. She didn't say, go and be warm. She said, here, try this on. I think it'll fit you. I like that. She provided the means to be warm. The poor crowded around Peter. This is one of the neatest things. The poor crowded around Peter at one of his trips and his arrival at Joppa. And they all, he was there, but what they did was they showed what Dorcas had made for them. That is amazing. And talked about that they had received exactly the most important thing they could have received from her. When you look at that, that was a demonstration of her need, of meeting needs, a demonstration of her giving. But the results were that Dorcas found a root share of faith, absolutely found her way to share her faith with others, and it was a way that mattered. I I think that this congregation virtually exemplifies some of these things. This is probably one of the most giving, I mentioned it earlier, congregations that I've attended. I know at least 10 people in this congregation that would literally give you the shirt off their back and then say, I'm really sorry it doesn't fit. It's truly amazing to me, and it's a blessing that we have that. There's a number of things to look at this kind of giving, though. Certainly in Jesus' name, and it certainly is a way of actually sharing the love that we feel and share in Christ. But Dorcas also received, as a result of her feeling and giving, that she became known and loved by the poor. That's what you would expect, right? Isn't that amazing? So this whole story of Dorcas ends up being one of those things that it's also an example that giving from a pure heart, you will get rewards that you never expected. And that's not the reason we do it, but that's the result of how we do it. There's a couple of other things here. It was interesting, if you remember the full story of Dorcas, what happened to Dorcas? She died, and Peter raised her. Isn't that amazing? Probably due to the outpouring of love from the people around. What a great example for Peter to take advantage of. It's sort of like, yeah, well, let's put Dorcas back on track and let her continue to do what she does best. So an interesting story for sure for us. There's some things that I think are really interesting, and I've tried to leave enough time for us to discuss this. So please, please join in, share your thoughts. This is such an important part of our congregation that I know it's an important part of each of you, or it wouldn't be so. When you have been in a situation where you were the giver, have you ever received or found yourself receiving rewards that you hadn't hoped for? It's kind of like, whoa, whoa. Have you guys experienced that? Yes. Yeah, I know I have. So you may need to come up for yourselves, because you are givers, with a kind way of receiving that as well. Rejecting something that's offered like that as a result of something you've done is probably not a good idea. It's sort of like, yeah, they want to give back. I like that. So,
When
yes.
I went to Honduras my senior year, and we were young, 18. We'd go and help people, and they would cook all this food. They had nothing to eat, and they were trying to feed us, and we felt bad for eating their food. But if we didn't eat their food, they would have been insulted.
That's exactly right.
And these poor kids were outside needing food, and you can look at me, I've been this way my whole life, and I'm in there eating the food, and it was really hard for me to accept something that I knew that they needed.
Yeah, well, that's a really good point, but it's also really good that we consider the feelings and the act that is going on is their giving and love. And I think that sometimes we short circuit that by saying, oh, no, that type of thing, even though we mean well. Yeah, that's something that's really important. Giving is one of those things that is so much a core of a Christian's walk And yet we do it without a lot of thought. Not that we have to ponder and ponder if we're going to give someone something, but more along the line, what does this mean and how can I do it in the best way possible? I don't often think about that. I just, okay, let's try and meet a need. But we need to put a little thought into that because sometimes we can traipse across things that make our gift a problem for that person as far as not accepting their thanks, not accepting, those kinds of things, just shutting it off. Uh, there's some other things that I think we need to consider. Uh, if you give, and at times you have done so, giving in love or cousins in this situation, are there some times when you have given uh, without one or the other, either love or you didn't give, that type of thing? Do you see that there might be an interaction there? You could be capable of giving without loving. Yeah, I've seen that before. I certainly have. If you give without love, does that diminish your gift?
I can't give without love, so I don't know.
Yeah, right. D.
Probably your blessing, I think. It may benefit them, but you don't get that.
That's exactly what I was hoping someone would say. Not only your blessing, but to be honest, if you give with a pure heart, your motives are pure, that shines through. If you give just to, okay, there you go, and you move on, uh, you don't even fulfill what the Good Samaritan did. He came back, worried over them. Once he had done that, paid the money, looked after them, bound their wounds, came back and checked on them, all that. So the Good Samaritan's example is a great one of giving. It's one of those things. Giving is sometimes just stopping your life to help someone who at present is really in dire need. And but when you do that, you're going to find that they have other needs than just what you're dealing with. And just sort of like, okay, so be prepared. This is my story. I call it the flat tire syndrome. More than once, I've stopped to help someone, usually a lady, to change a tire. And I think I may have shared this with you. One time we did this, and it was way back in the middle of nowhere in Montana. 2-track, and this lady in the little tiny Toyota station wagon looking thing had a flat. And so she said, well, I've got a spare tire in the back. And I said, okay. This is a story about giving even when you're being insulted. So I said, okay, let me go look at the spare. Well, I got the spare out, and this was a 6-bolt hub, and that was a 5-bolt wheel. And it's sort of like, well, ma'am, that spare didn't come with this car. And she said, yeah, I know, I bought it last week at a garage sale. And I said, okay, but you cannot put that wheel on your car. And her last words to me was, well, I'll just wait here till someone who knows how to do that comes. And it was sort of like, okay, so we'll be seeing you. So the two take-home lessons from that is you can't give with the expectation or the projection of gratitude or anything else, because in many cases you may be criticized for whatever you try to do, just as in that case. The second is that when you help someone, it's very likely they're in need of help right now because of a long line of bad decisions that still need to be remedied. That you're going to, you stop to help someone, And he said, well, I need to get to the pharmacy because I got to pay for drugs I can't afford. Is they're like, okay, well, it's a daisy chain. Don't be afraid of it, but we see it. We see it quite often. And the whole point is that's when you're really giving. When you're giving and you get criticized, or when you're giving and it's sort of like, oh no, there's more to this than that, and let me try to deal with it and get them to a place they don't drown. Yes.
One of the things about giving is giving for the right reason.
Yes.
Don't give for the recognition or the pat on the back.
Amen.
In today's society, anytime you have floods or hurricanes or fires or anything like that,
Great needs.
celebrities, athletes,
Yeah.
musicians, they all come out to give,
Right.
which is great. The problem is they all come with their own camera crew. They want everybody to know
Yes.
what they did and how much they gave, and they forget all about Matthew 6, where it says, when you give to the poor, do not sound a trumpet before you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, so that they will be praised by the people.
Absolutely.
Don't do it for the pat on the back. Do it to help.
Do it if you can without anybody even knowing it. And, you know, the Bible says, let it be where the left hand didn't know the right hand did it. I think that's really good because in that way you're glorifying God, not yourself. And so, very good point. And truly, this is one of those things that we'll talk about later. It is a form of love. And we'll talk about later today what love really is. And it's not what you think it is in most cases. There's a lot more to it and a lot more to unpack about agape love that is supernatural. So finally, this is the one that I suspect will generate the most discussion. I may not be right, but what's the opposite of giving?
Usually taking or receiving.
Take, you know, I knew that the taking would look like the opposite, and in most cases, giving and taking probably would be true. But I'm looking for another word.
Forgetting
Forgetting? Okay, that's another
God's
good one.
nature.
Yeah.
that we want to be with,
Right.
God in His nature that we want to be with says in Isaiah, He told the people, I will not forget you.
Yes.
Isaiah 49.
That's really important. Another one that's more active. Not taking, but something else, because it's a dark side that we probably all have seen and might want to work on.
Being selfish.
Very, very close. The word I was thinking of, giving versus withholding. Active. Seeing it, and it's sort of like, nope.
Not gonna do it.
Withholding. Ooh, what does withholding say about us? Oh, it says volumes. That's really dark, and it may cause you to think about that. It's sort of like, well, that's coming from my heart, just as giving should. It's sort of like, whoa, where did that come from? And you know, that's a passive aggressive response, where you just step back and say, nope. That type of thing. Does that mean everybody that comes up to you at a gas station and wants to use your credit card to buy themselves gas, you said, oh, sure, go ahead? No, of course not. We live in a scenario where we need to be very wise about that kind of help. So that's not what I'm talking about. But I have seen many cases where instead of giving, what the thing that was happening was withholding. And for reasons that perhaps the person who should have been giving had grudges, things like that. we gotta scrub that out of our lives. Withholding is not a trait that I think will be found on the fruit of the Spirit. It's not there. And sometimes I think, I know that I have been guilty at some points of just withholding help. So I certainly have tried to work on myself. What do you think about that? Did you see that one coming, the withholding thing? Yeah.
But I see it.
Is it part of human nature maybe to do that?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So again, the reason I bring that up is the whole overarching concept of what we're trying to build together through this and the sermon series is this, that we are pursuing God with everything we've got. And that may mean as much what we don't do as what we do. So I look at that I had to add that because, we have to be careful. It's sort of like, I don't know how many times I've seen, oh, we're not helping them. Well, it's sort of like, make sure if you have that attitude, it's for something that isn't personal, something that isn't, how can I say, non-spiritual in nature. So just wanted to cover that one with you. What are some other aspects of giving that you have encountered in your own walk?
Giving without them knowing.
Yes, good one. Does that make you feel good when you're able to do that?
Giving without them knowing.
I'm sorry, I should have repeated the question.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, giving without someone knowing. Well, that's biblical. That's the left hand giving with the right hand not knowing. That's great. And maybe it has more of an impact. If someone gives and that person gets it, it's sort of like, well, it was an anonymous person. That may lift their spirits up, and they don't know who it was, but obviously they got cared about. That's impressive. Yes.
And sometimes you can give without knowing yourself.
Yes.
You're just there to listen to them.
Yeah.
You give them that ear to bend, that shoulder to cry on, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever phrase you want to use there,
That's
you
right.
don't even realize that you're there for them, but you are
Right.
there for them. And it lifts a weight off their shoulders.
Absolutely. And
And you give a gift without even thinking about, without knowing you're doing it.
yeah, exactly. Very good point. Very good point. What else? What else do you guys see in this? By the way, this is one of the fruit of the Spirit. Giving is. So yes.
The thing that you always see in Dorcas' story is the individualization.
Uh,
She made the clothes for them. That's not, that's different from us, where we give them something
sure.
that's even a leftover.
Right.
Which we do that. But she, in order to make clothes for someone, you would measure and make it to fit them. And another aspect of individualization is the love languages that
Yes.
Janet Randolph taught us a class in. And trying to recognize how that person, how giving to that person, what way to give to that person love.
Mhm.
So they know that you're trying to speak their language.
Well, it also sends the message that you matter. That person matters enough for me to understand not only what kind of clothes that they need, but that they should fit. And here we go, like you said, measuring and tailoring. I think Dorcas or Tabitha, whichever you prefer, is a really, really good story about giving. and the connection between giving and love. So, anything else before we close today? Is this series about living in the nitty gritty, serving in the nitty gritty of life, is it making sense to you? Is it resonating with you? Yeah. Life continues to be messy. No matter how tidy we try and make it, it always seems to be messy. And it's just the way it is. Okay, thanks. Let's get ready to worship.